This is Senator Linda Reynolds, a Liberal Party senator from Western Australia. She's often referred to as a rising star in the Liberal Party, as she is in this article in the Sydney Morning Herald. And I submit to you, dear listener, if that is the case, that she is really a rising star in the Liberal Party, then the Liberal Party has some serious problems, or I should say, another serious problem to add to the list. You see, Linda Reynolds called for a debate on mixed gender teams in Australia's elite sports. A rising star inside the Turnbull government has called for a national debate on introducing mixed gender competitions to professional sports, asking why women are segregated from competing against men in codes like the AFL, NRL and rugby union. Now, most people who reside in reality are already laughing at this point. But I'm genuinely interested in how someone could propose something so delusional. This was a prepared statement. It's not just an off-the-cuff remark. How did she not think through the consequences of what she was proposing? Just to put this into context, the Australian women's soccer team, our national team, the best of the best female soccer players in this country, routinely gets beaten, and not just beaten, thrashed by club under-15 boys teams. So if we use the Australian women's soccer team as a proxy for ability in professional sports, i.e. that they are equivalent to a low ability under-15 boys club team, and then we combine, say, the Australian Women's AFL League, the AFLW, with the men's, then the result would be no more professional AFL women players. And the AFL would look exactly the same as it does today. The teams would be all male. Not a single woman would make a first grade team, let alone even the squad. And that would be true for NRL, rugby union, cricket, you name it. And if we're going to compete across all sports, what would happen to netball, one of the premier women's sports in this country? Sure, strength is less of an issue in netball, but men are on average taller, faster and have quicker reflexes. In a matter of years, men would dominate the sport. The sum total of Reynolds' proposal would be the end of nearly all professional sporting careers for women. Of course, there would be some exceptions. There are female jockeys that compete at elite levels, and I'm sure we could come up with other sports. But the end result would be an enormous loss of income and opportunity for sportswomen across the board. Now, there were also other statements Reynolds made that lacked a little, shall we say, truthiness. Like in the military, sport requires many different qualities in an individual player, but also in the team. We no longer segregate women solely on their gender. Women now have the opportunity to compete on merit in the military. Maybe it's time to rethink the segregation of women in sport simply based on their gender and not on the talent. But those claims about the military aren't exactly true, are they? Last year I did a piece on efforts to get more women into the Australian Defence Forces. Now, when it comes to pre-enlistment fitness tests, men have to be able to do more push-ups. The basic fitness assessment conducted on a 6-monthly basis requires men to do roughly double the number of push-ups as women of a similar age and be able to compete a 2,400 metre run in up to 2 minutes faster as women of the same age. The third level of fitness assessment is gender neutral. All trainees are required to achieve regardless of employment category during recruit training at ARTC. So my understanding is that for a woman to get, say, a frontline combat role, she does have to meet the same standards as her male counterparts. But there are still easier standards in both pre-enlistment and for the 6-monthly basic fitness assessment. Now, Reynolds makes reference to merit, but it's not merit in a mixed competition if women have different standards, is it? It's like giving a math test to a class and giving women a test with easier questions and then selecting the top 10% of the class for a special award and claiming it was granted on merit. In that same video, I noted a study on all male units in the US Marine Corps as compared to mixed units. A Marine Corps study in 2015 found that all male units were faster, more lethal, and able to evacuate casualties in less time. Overall, all male squads performed better than mixed groups on 69% of the tasks evaluated. And what I didn't mention in that video was the toll it takes on women. Women are far more likely to suffer physical injuries. And that subject of injuries has come up recently with respect to the AFLW. From the AFL website, women 5 times more likely to tear ACL. AFLW players are about 5 times more likely to rupture an anterior cruciate ligament than their male counterparts, leading sports medico Peter Bruckner says. Bruckner told RSN Radio on Monday morning this run of knee injuries could largely be explained by the fact women are significantly more vulnerable to ACL ruptures than men. Women are something like 5 times more likely to tear their anterior cruciate than their male counterparts with equivalent activity, Bruckner said. There are a number of reasons for it. The main reason is just mechanics, in that females have a wide pelvis and therefore are more bow-legged. That's more of an inclination for their knees to fall in when they twist, so that makes them more susceptible to doing an anterior cruciate. That's pretty well recognised the world over. There's lots of research that's come out of female handball players in Scandinavian countries and female soccer players in the US. Bruckner said women's sporting teams now put a lot of emphasis on teaching landing techniques that could help prevent ACL injuries, with players instructed to land with their knees flexed rather than locked. So that's happening in female-only competitions. What are injuries going to be like in NRL with a 130-kilo male prop tackling a female halfback? The only other alternative is that, like the military, there will be special rules for women. For example, if a woman gets over the opposition's quarter line in NRL, it'll be counted as a try. Or they set up some goalposts on the 50-metre line for women in the AFL. And instead of tackling women players, you're only allowed to touch them. But then you'll probably get done for sexual harassment. There's nothing sexist about pointing out biological realities, and so I return to my initial point. How could you make such statements as Reynolds has made if you are aware of the basic biological differences between men and women? Has Linda Reynolds been so captured by the anti-science, all differences between men and women are social constructs nonsense? This is what Reynolds said when asked if women might fear being put at a disadvantage if asked to compete against men to qualify for teams. Reynolds said, "How do you know if you don't give it a go?" Well, fair enough. Let's give it a go. I guess one positive result will be that if no women are able to make the teams, then the injury toll on women will go way down because there won't be any playing. But I wonder what the female players think of this. Has anyone even asked them? How do they feel about the potential of being able to make money playing a sport they love taken away from them? As usual, let me know your thoughts about this lunacy in the comments below. I'll see you next time.